The only thing that people need to know about me is that I managed an institute and still work with them that developed the award-winning certification that is used to measure the healthiness of products and buildings. It's called the Cradle to Cradle Design Protocol, and it's recognized by the US EPA as one of the leading certifications for healthy products and products that go into buildings. And I've also co-designed and trained hundreds of designers in how to actually apply that in schools and city halls and homes, right across the whole gamut. So that's what I do. I do healthy buildings.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Yay! Hello. I'm Jennifer Hammond. I'm so excited because we have a very important guest, but also a very important topic that you want to learn about. So, Douglas Mulhall, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jennifer, it's great to be back. I'm back.
So Yay! And back with an update, talking about, toxic buildings. So often people don't think about that, especially inside, that it could be toxic. So often people are talking about, like in Washington, D.C., we always, especially during the spring and the summer, we're talking about how toxic is the pollen count today. And should you go outside? But what about, should you be inside? And how toxic is the inside? So let's start first with your background. So for people who don't know who you are, who are you?
Well, we'll be short. The only thing that people need to know about me is that I managed an institute and still work with them that developed the award-winning certification that is used to measure the healthiness of products and buildings. It's called the Cradle to Cradle Design Protocol, and it's recognized by the US EPA as one of the leading certifications for healthy products and products that go into buildings. And I've also co-designed and trained hundreds of designers in how to actually apply that in schools and city halls and homes, right across the whole gamut. So that's what I do. I do healthy buildings.
Yay! We want healthy buildings. So first of all, let's talk about the bad. So what is an unhealthy building and why do we care? Why is that important? Because one of the things I talk about with, just a home, I've done more than one segment, and is your home killing you? And unfortunately, I have a very good friend I have a couple, but I have a very good friend in the Florida area who has an awful story about her dad moving into a beautiful new construction property. And literally it was so toxic on the inside that he was dead within a couple months. And I know that's, builders don't talk about that. And there are some very specific reasons for that. But let's talk about just big buildings, like where you go to work. Why do people need to know what you're sharing today?
Well, actually, this is for both big buildings and homes. And you're quite right. Why should I care? But also, what can I do about it? And those are the two questions that people always ask. Well, the reason you should care is because most people spend more than 85% of their lives indoors. It's that simple. And the second thing is that the stuff that really harms you or is really good for you, you cannot see or smell or feel or hear. And that is part of the challenge. So you can, be inside an office and, not see, smell, or hear any of this stuff and then wonder why you're getting sick all the time. And that is because of two things. One of them is infections and the other is toxins. And yes, sometimes you can smell these, but most of the time not, because the stuff that gets into your lungs and that's really a problem is just below your senses. So that is the issue, Jennifer, is that you can't see it, smell it, hear it. And so you think it doesn't exist. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's the challenge behind a healthy building. And the other thing that you should care about is what you can do about it, because most people go, oh, healthy building, what can I do about that? That's up to the designers. No, actually, it's up to you. And the reason it's up to you is because the people in the building have a huge impact on the building in the way that they clean it, in the way that they maintain it, in the way that they deal with their air conditioning systems, in the way that they bring their animals indoors and clean those animals and wear their shoes indoors. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we humans do that has major impacts on the health of a building. So that's why you should care. And we're going to be talking a lot about what you can do about it in the next few minutes.
And I think that that's the thing, that so often it's the silent killer. And so if it's a silent killer, how, and again, if you're not aware, then how can you do anything about it? And again, I think a lot of people, if they're going to work in a commercial building and they're it's not like we have particularly, like you walk in and you can just know, oh my gosh. Some people, I will say, it's like that, what is it, the canary in the coal mine? They walk in and they can immediately sense certain things. And I say only certain things because it could be a little bit of mold or mildew that they're all of a sudden sensitive to, but there's so many silent killers. And that's part of the reason this conversation is so important. So what can be done about it?
Well, the first thing to know is I want to give you an example. Okay. So the American Heart Association just came out with a new statement that says that there is a new major heart disease risk, and that heart disease risk is low levels of toxic metals. And guess what? Those toxic metals latch onto these tiny particles that come in from outside and are generated from pollutants in your house, and they get into your lungs and they get into your blood, your brain, et cetera, et cetera. And over time, they build up and they toxify you. Now, this is a major new statement. This is not, by the way, poisoning by metals. This is very low-level stuff that's very hard to detect. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a clean air building. And the first way that you do that is so simple, and that is have a look at the filters in your air handling systems. It's amazing. I'll just give you an example. This is a dirty secret behind most air conditioners. The filters in air conditioners are not designed to protect you. They're designed to protect the machinery against the bigger particles that get in there and clog up the motors. They're not designed to protect you against the much smaller particles that actually get into your lungs and that have attached to them these toxic metals, as well as bacteria and viruses. So you want to stop that stuff from getting into you. And one clear way that you can do it is to replace those filters. And by the way, this also applies to your car, your vehicle, okay? So replace the filters. And you can get these filters from your aircon supplier or from the local Home Depot or hardware store. They're called HEPA filters, and they will filter out a lot of the nasty stuff. So number one, have a look at the filters and change them out. And by the way, change them out regularly. It's a relatively small investment for a real big return, and you'll feel better about it. So that's number one. Number two, pets. Oh, we all have pets. Aren't they nice? Well, they shed. Okay, we all know that. People have lived with pets for years. That's fine. But actually, it's what they bring in on their feet. So, and by the way, your kids are doing the same thing, and so are you with your shoes. So a lot of studies have shown that allergies get a whole lot worse, a whole lot more suddenly in schools when the kids come in the classroom or when they leave. That's because they're kicking up the dust on the floor. So what you want to do is you want to take off your shoes when you come into your house. And, a lot of people won't do this, but with all the care you take for your animal, you should just clean off their feet when they come in the house and keep them well groomed so that all the dust and stuff that they pick up, doesn't go all the way through your house. And I know a lot of people are sleeping with their dogs that are on the couch and the cats and everything else, and it's all very fine. But I just want to emphasize again that you don't hear, see, or smell a lot of this stuff. The stuff that you're smelling from your animal is not the stuff that's really going to harm you. Next thing is put a new filter in your vacuum cleaner and make sure that it captures this stuff as well, so that you're actually not pushing stuff out the exhaust of the vacuum cleaner and polluting your home. And just a little
Exactly.
detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jennifer, I know you know this detail, but a lot of studies have shown that the air quality inside can be up to 8 times worse than air quality outside. And here's a special thing for anyone who's been in a wildfire zone, and not just while the wildfires are burning, okay? There's a whole bunch of ash that comes down from wildfires, and people don't think, when they think about wildfire ash, they don't think about cars burning, wires on telephone poles burning, their houses, the houses that are burning. These all have these toxic metals in them. And what happens to that stuff? It goes back onto the ground, and it gets thrown up every time you're walking around your yard or there's a wind. And there's some official recommendations. It's unbelievable. I need to warn people about this. They say, when you come back home after a wildfire, open your windows to air out the house. That is the worst thing that you can do, because these ashes that are outside get in the house. So no, don't do that. The first thing to do is to replace all the filters in your aircon systems and turn that air conditioning system on to internal circulation, please. So these are concrete examples of what you can do. It doesn't cost much, and you can do it right now. And especially with the results of all these wildfires, please, wildfire dust does not just magically go away. It sticks around for a long time. It percolates into the soil. It gets basically roughed up all the time. And you got to be careful when your kids are playing in the yard. So guess what? Authorities are not testing for this stuff in your yard. You need to test. You need to test for these toxic metals. The authorities are testing for, bacteria in your well water, contamination. They're testing for the amount of smoke particles. But when it comes down to ash, they're testing, and you might get the results like 3 months afterwards when it's too late. So I would highly recommend to people that have been in wildfire zones or have had smoke deposited in their area, please test the soil outside your house. It's really crucial.
And because we are so, it's happened so recently, let's talk a little bit about, what happened in Maui. There's so many fires, and there's just so much going on there. What you were just saying, one, getting the new filters, but also what would you recommend as far as, again, people want to air out their house. They want to try to figure out, do you get fans and then air it out and then change the thing? What would be maybe the correct sequence that they should be doing?
Well, for people with houses that are left, because that's the tragedy, of course, all of what you said, this is absolutely clear. And I would like to emphasize one thing. Pregnant women and young children who are exposed to these toxic metals have a problem. The American Heart Association has just said it. These low levels of heavy metals. And the reason that they're dangerous, people hear heavy metals and toxic metals. These get next to your cells. They disrupt your DNA. They are carcinogenic. They can lead to cancer, and they can cause heart disease. So they are just bad, bad stuff. And you don't want this stuff into you. So people should test the dust around their house. And if a lot of people can't afford it, they should raise heck, Jennifer. They should insist with the health authorities that they test the stuff right in properties to make sure they know what the information is. And I know a lot of people are complaining that they're not getting enough information, and they should complain some more. So yes, when you get into the house, the very first thing is switch the filter on your vacuum cleaner and vacuum everything and sponge down everything. You should sponge down everything before you vacuum. Okay. Then vacuum. At the same time, replace the filters on your aircon systems before you turn them on. This is absolutely critical, because otherwise you're just pushing this stuff back into the house. And if it's possible, really keep your doors and windows closed and have that conditioning system switch to interior. Every time the kids come in from outside, take off your shoes. The pets come in, clean off their feet. These are all important steps to keeping a healthy home and office.
And I think that, again, people want to know that when they're going to buy a home. I'm curious on what advice you'd give for somebody who is looking to find a healthy home, that, again, is not going to, because I used the example in the beginning of a friend of mine, it was her father who bought a brand new house. Again, most people, when they buy a brand new car, a brand new house, they think, oh my gosh, it's going to be healthy. And that it would, I mean, it's the furthest thing from their mind that it wouldn't be healthy. They think maybe a historic home that would have, mold or might have toxins in it. They don't think the new home. So again, what kind of advice would you give for somebody who's out there home shopping right now and looking at how do I buy a house that is healthy?
Well, first of all, that healthy house is going to improve in value faster than a toxic house. So it's a financial decision as well, just to be clear on that, okay? And all the studies have now shown that healthy buildings sell for a premium and they rent for a premium. So there's a financial incentive here. One thing is, it sounds obvious, but check for radon, for example. Still, a lot of people aren't checking for the radon. They really aren't. And
most people don't know what that is. Can you briefly tell people what that is?
Yeah, radon gas is an invisible, odorless gas that seeps up from the ground into the house, and it comes from the radioactive decay of materials that are in granite and other types of stones that contain uranium and other radioactive materials. So this is the second leading cause of cancer in the United States, of lung cancer. So it's a big problem, and you need to test for it, absolutely, especially in the basement. Okay, so that's a short story on radon. Now, for the rest, there are new building standards. One is called the WELL standard, and the other is called the Fitwell standard. And these are both designed to show builders, but also owners, on how to measure the healthy fitness of their building. And you can go to their websites. You can also go to our website, which I'll talk about in a moment, or you can read the book, which we'll also talk about in a moment.
Well, let's start there. Let's start with your book.
Okay. Well, I couldn't find a book that talked about not just healthy buildings, but this hidden threat to our health that comes from this nasty combinations of hidden infections and hidden toxic metals, and what's being done about it in terms of therapy and prevention. So I wrote the book called Discovering the Nature of Longevity, Restoring the Heart and Body by Targeting Hidden Stress. It's available on Amazon. It was #1 in 7 categories when it came out. It is recommended by the American Institute of Stress, and it carries a foreword by Dr. Gervasio Lamas, who is the chairman of cardiology at Columbia University and the chief author of the American Heart Association statement on heavy metals. So it's got a lot of authority behind it, and it's got a lot of details on what is this hidden stress, how does it get into you, what can you do to prevent it, and how can you treat it. So that's the book, and it's available on Amazon. And you just go find the title, and there it is. It's a Kindle book as well, and it's a paperback. So, and the website is www.natureoflongevity.com. That's Nature of Longevity, all one word.com. It's not case sensitive. And there's a lot of information on the website too. And I've got a little booklet that goes with it called The Story of Nanobac TX, which is about a non-prescription nutraceutical that's been on the market for 20 years that gets rid of this stuff. And
wow.
I followed the history of this for 20 years. It's been proven out by a number of published medical studies. So that's just a tiny little booklet for the specific therapeutic part. And so there's a lot in there for people who already have the problem and for people who don't want to have the problem. And I'd like to emphasize something. If you are a young mother and you want to protect your kids, because this stuff gets into you starting from the day you're born. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to prevent this. There's dietary things that you can do. There's certain foods that actually get rid of this stuff. There's things that you can do with your home, like we just talked about. And that's what the book is about. It's one big, nice little package, and it's full of solutions for people. And that's the main point.
Well, I appreciate it so much. And so how do they get that booklet? Is that on Amazon as well?
Yeah, the booklet's on Amazon as well. The Story of Nanobac TX. So again, The main book is Discovering the Nature of Longevity, Restoring the Heart and Body by Targeting Hidden Stress. And the booklet is The Story of Nanobac TX.
Thank you very much. And do you have a social media or not?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. So
Okay,
you can find me there. And Jennifer, I just want to say congratulations on doing this show. You're performing a fantastic public service. This is really important. And just remember, a healthy building can make you healthy and keep you healthy and extend your healthy longevity. So go get a healthy home.
I agree. Thank you. And I appreciate it so much because, I'm very passionate about people getting the information, especially the information that most people don't want to talk about because it's uncomfortable. It means that you have to confront.
You talk about it because you can feel good about it, because you can do something about it.
Because there's something that can be done about it. I love it.
That's right. Empower yourself.
Yay!
Yay!
And then, that's what I'm going to ask you is to lift your voice and say yay, because we can always do something about it. So 3, 2, 1, yay!
Yay! For healthy.